To see our world in a grain of sand, and heaven in a wildflower, hold infinity in the palm of your hand, and eternity in an hour. As we take you on a journey to capture Africa by filming Kenya in the Ubuntu spirit of I am because we are. Come, tell untold stories of history of our land with hopeful hearts that carry you on this journey of storytelling.
Kenya yetu ni nzuri, wenyewe twajivunia. Hili nalikariri mpate kulisikia. Ina bora mandhari, wenyewe ya kuvutia. Kenya yetu ya fahari, raia twajivunia.
Ours is a culture of storytelling, of dance, of song, of folklore. And what better way to begin than to take you on a journey encompassed by landscapes that no other can match. Come as I tell you a story of Film Kenya and Capture Africa. What makes Kenya a filmmaker's haven? Well, some would ask, is it the people? Is it the sights? Is it the sounds that you are about to take in? You are about to discover a treasure in exotic filming locations. Sit back and prepare to get blown away by a country famed for its scenic landscapes. If at all man was created from dust, then indeed life began in Kenya. The 20-mile saline pan that is Lake Magadi hosts flights of flamingos that sidestep its steaming hot streams. It is the soda-tinted pink gush that inspires healing tales from the locals. Within this desert lies the southernmost lake in the Great Kenyan Rift Valley. From a green country through gentle meandering roads, up steep climbs, down sand-filled drifts, dry seasonal riverbeds, and tight hairpin bends, we take you to the northern frontier, vast openness of nothingness. Step into the cradle of mankind, a land with the longest living histories on earth. Welcome to the barren, largely undisturbed terrain. Lodwar, the capital of Turkana County. It is one of the sunniest places in the world. Famous to this land is the African Cristo Redentor, a replica of the famous Christ the Redeemer sculpture that demarcates Rio de Janeiro. A climb of close to 200 steps begins at a gate inscribed with the Latin words Porta Celi, Gate to Heaven. A view genuinely emotional. Our journey now takes us across Kenya to deserts tucked away next to the shorelines of the Indian Ocean. To a small, quiet town. Welcome to Malindi. Its people calmly go about their daily lives. Connected to the rich past of this land, where once a great woman led a resistance against oppression from colonialists and ultimately paid the price. A land where the first visitors docked and left their mark. A half-hour drive from here leads you to Marafa, a small, unassuming village with its own kitchen. Hell's Kitchen. A canyon of sandstone sculpted by wind, water, and time. Overlooking 400 acres of wind-swept stone towers. With daytime temperatures reaching 50 degrees at some points in the canyon, this truly is Hell's Kitchen. The Giriama people who live here have a different name for this canyon. They call it Nyari, meaning a natural sacred depression. Legend has it that more than 150 years ago, a village suffered a devastating drought. A wealthy man used the milk from his cows to clean his house. This greatly angered the gods, who overnight buried the village into this canyon. Not far from Hell's Kitchen, this mysterious scripture is rerun beyond a small village in Mambrui, north of Malindi, one of Kenya's best kept secrets. Here lies an ever-changing landscape of giant dunes shaped by sandstorms on a daily basis. To picture the true essence of the Mambrui dunes, imagine larger-than-life golden sand dunes, clear blue waters of the Indian Ocean, and a pristine golden beach made from pyrite particles that shimmer, giving off a golden reflection. Here lies the remnants of the ancient Guineo-Congolian rainforest that once spanned across Africa, running along the equator. The Kakamega rainforest now blankets just 4,000 hectares of western Kenya and is unrivaled in its diversity. This African equatorial jungle feels as though it's been here since time began. Whichever direction you look at in the forests of Kenya, rich cultural song and dance awaits you. Here, winds carry a vibration of an intangible cultural heritage, the Isukuti dance. Its thick forest floor is a tapestry of dew-lined grass blades, moss-covered stones, and fallen flowers that trap the breath of tree trunks. Lehanda Hill, the highest point of the forest, proudly paints an evocative 360-degree screenplay. "15 kilometers from the Indian Ocean, Shimba Hills rise abruptly from coastal plains to form a table plateau, surrounded by escarpments rising to 450 meters, with Pengo Hill as the highest point. The forests in Kenya never cease to amaze. Hidden in them are a happy people proudly holding on to their culture, all this resonating in their song and dance. When the sun dips in this part of the world, the forest takes another shade of life, one which tells a different story from the day, truly a delight to capture. Fact or fiction, forests are found in urban cities. Welcome to Karura Forest, the world's largest gazetted city forest that gives Nairobi the name Green City in the Sun. This is what remains of the expansive forest that once covered Nairobi. Within the forest's cover are caves and a river meandering its way through. Karura Forest is a proud monument of Kenyan history, grounds of an environmental protection fight resulting in homage to Kenya's first Nobel laureate, Wangari Maathai. The forest is a place of tranquility, which tells the story of the human spirit as echoed in the late Maathai's wisdom. A tree has its roots in the soil, yet reaches to the sky. It tells us that in order to aspire, we need to be grounded, and that no matter how high we go, it is from our roots that we draw sustenance. Approximately 30 kilometers from the city of Kisumu stands a giant film set of jagged rock face, balanced stones, and dark dugouts. They are camouflaged by towering trees that catch the echoes of sacred chants by the local pilgrims. This sums up Kit Mikayi, a rock formation almost 120 meters high. In the Luo, the local dialect, it means the stone of the first woman, a reflection of the polygamous Luo culture. Mikayi, the first wife's house, is built on the right hand. Nyachira, the second wife's house, is made further on the right. And Refu, the third wife's house, is built on the left side. Some see it as a reflection of a nuclear family. How would you tell this story? How would you describe magical? Perhaps a citadel of peaks named after Maasai chieftains, or perhaps the world's rarest site, the equatorial snow, perhaps the world's highest national park, or perhaps Mount Kenya, standing at the equator, a 3-million-year-old extinct volcano, a giant born from fire and ice, throne of the god Gai. The mountain stands at an awe-inspiring 17,057 feet at its tallest peak, Batian. Today, there are 12 relic glaciers on the mountain and deep valleys sculpted by the glacial erosion, marking the landscape, and about 20 magical glacial lakes. Of these lakes, Ellis, located below Mugi Hills, is the third largest, covering 28 acres and the last point on the mountain accessible by car. In a blaze of gold-tinged pink, glistening burnt red to a shiny gold brown reflected in the wheat farms, where the golden brown of wheat farms fade into the green of the forest, folding into the blue of the mountain. Beyond the home of Gai are beautiful lush lands as far as the eye can see. In the Kenyan highlands, standing on the edge of the Mau forest, is the small, friendly town of Kericho, a haven of tranquility and the heart of Africa's most essential tea gardens. The landscape, painted with all the shades of green, accentuated by perfectly manicured tea estates, intertwined with patches of forest and single rows of eucalyptus trees. The polygon pieces of the tea estates form a green puzzle, with the contours lining the jigsaw, peering through the Tinderet forest, Mau forest, and Nandi Hills. Tucked within the Tugen Hills and Elgeyo Escarpment, the Kerio Valley is a dramatic landscape dominated with stunning silver-grey rock faces, a masterpiece of a landscape. From the pinnacle of this peaceful valley, the Torok Falls plunge a majestic 200 meters. On a rainy day, mist from the forest rises to mingle with the spray of the falls, curtaining the Great Rift Valley. These winding roads at the western edge of the escarpment lead you to the small town of Iten. Today, our world-class athletes in Iten have world-class views of a sample of Kenya's breathtaking scenery, the Kerio Valley. The forests of the Ngong Hills have peaks and ridges along the Great Rift Valley. For the Maasai people, these forested hills are believed to be bits of dirt left under God's fingernails after completing the creation of our universe. Another legend explains the knuckled outline of the Ngong Hills to be a giant, falling north with his head in the clouds, having tripped on Mount Kilimanjaro. Falling to the ground, his hand sculpted the soil into the Ngong Hills, hence the familiar knuckle shape. At the very center of Kenya lies Aberdare National Park, formed in 1950, protecting East Africa's largest indigenous forest. This gem is a legendary lesson in landscapes and historical script. Here, one finds thick salient forests dressed in all imaginable shades of green. Most spectacular is the mighty Karuru Falls, the highest and tallest waterfall in Kenya. They thunder down 3 steps, the first being 117 meters, the second 126, and the third a staggering 130 meters, rising a total of 273 meters. The Aberdare Ranges are abundant in water. The Chania Falls, which shields the Queen's Cave behind its cascading waters, has a libretto of its own to tell. The arched cave is sculpted out of a jet black volcanic rock with sophisticated orchids in full bloom, carpeting the walls with a swath of color. Indeed, this is a cave that enchants royals and freedom fighters alike. Scene 1, Act 1, as life script would direct. This is the cave where on the 6th of February 1952, Princess Elizabeth II learned of her father's death, thus ascending to the throne of the Commonwealth, including Kenya. Scene 2, Act 1. The Mau Mau freedom fighters met in this very cave to craft an uprising against the British rule and eventually successfully ousted the Queen's reign on 12th December 1963. Quietly nestled in the shadows of a hill called the Sleeping Warrior, named after its resemblance to a giant sleeping, is Lake Elementaita, spreading over 18 square kilometers. The sleeping warrior reflects on the sparkling white Soda Lake. Above, in the Kenyan sky, 400 bird species fly. The birds fill the warm Kenyan air with caroling sounds in marvel over the landscape. A landscape marked by craters, plugs, and lava flows. Broken up by peculiar symmetrical outlines in the porous soil, this suggests celestial blessings on the land. Sitting at an elevation of 3,180 feet is another of the Kenyan Rift Valley lakes, Baringo. A natural marvel, Lake Baringo is a freshwater lake with no evident outlet. Its waters are believed to trickle into lava beds at the northern end, where a rock-strewn shore transforms into the alluvial flat on the southern end. A common sighting on this lake is that of the fish eagle, looking for its catch. But they are not the only ones out on the lake looking for their morning catch. This natural marvel of a lake had receded a few years back, and according to common knowledge, it was believed to be dying. However, the local Tugen, Pokot, and Jems people knew better. The lake was going to claim what was its own. The lake has reclaimed its history, covering shorelines that it had occupied eras ago. The Olkoke and Parmaluk Islands stand amidst this natural marvel, one of the great lakes of the African Rift Valley. Not too far from the shorelines of the lake live a people hardened by the scorching sunlight. These are the Pokot. Peeking out of this harsh landscape are blue-green waters, flowing over 249 kilometers, covering an area of 6,450 square kilometers and 44 kilometers at its widest point. This is Lake Turkana. The proud people of this harshly dazzling, mirage-filled desert, a tall, lean, dark, and resilient tribe. The Turkana also resonate in song and dance. It is the world's largest permanent desert lake, a World Heritage Site. The Jade Sea, lined by black lava beaches, draws a fine line between real and surreal. The atmosphere, one not to be left out, as hot blasts of air rise above the land, engulfing you in its entirety. 15 kilometers out on the lake is Central Island, an active volcano, a landscape home to 3 huge calderas. Tilapia Lake is a jade continuation of the Jade Sea. The sacred ibis perches on the shores of a lake shared by 3 countries in East Africa. This is Lake Victoria. She sits pretty on the borders of Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. The largest transboundary freshwater lake in the world that is the heart of Africa for many reasons. Being the world's largest tropical lake, the lake with the largest surface area in Africa, and the main reservoir of the mighty Nile. The Grand Lake shelters 19 hypsographic islands, the prominent ones being Mfangano, Ndere, Rusinga, and Takawiri Islands. To discover these gems, Beta Point, a destination and journey within itself, would be your ideal point to start. The world sees this massive water body in awe. But for the ones who call it home, it is a source of livelihood and a link to their cultural practices from birth to the end of life. Characterized by picturesque rocky cliffs, the largest euphorbia forest in Africa, and plains of grasslands, woodlands, and marshlands. Come tell your story in Lake Nakuru National Park. This lake is fed by 3 main rivers, Njoro, Makalia, and Enderit. The Makalia Falls are a spectacle to witness. A land that is a safe haven for wildlife. Lying south of Lake Naivasha is Hell's Gate National Park, one that is characterized by volcanic features. This park gets its name from a narrow crack in the precipice. These precipices formed a lake when early man walked the earth and served as a lifeline for early humans. In line with this rich geological history, the park also contains extinct volcanoes, gorges, and volcanic plugs with intense geothermal activity in the environs. Prepare to experience a rugged outback in a way only an African land can best be described. Hot, dry, dusty, vivid, exciting, and imbued with a sense of harmony. The landscape knits together unique looming cliffs, water-gouged gorges, glaring red rock towers, guzzling plumes, and volcanoes enveloped in brown shrub.
Thank you. Plan B.
Fisher's Tower stands tall at the start of the park, jutting out of the ground proudly as it is surrounded by rock faces of different shades and shapes. This savanna grassland is home to majestic animals, some of the most beautiful creatures to walk the planet. The Maasai people refer to this area as Mara, which means spotted in Ma. A name that undoubtedly lives up to its reputation. A panorama of great openness lined with golden brown savanna grassland, spotted with the iconic flat-topped thorn tree filled with intricate weaverbird nests. The Masai Mara Game Reserve forms the world's finest wildlife filmmaking destination. But one has to tread with caution out here, as turning into the next family meal is very much on the cards. Arguably the most dramatic wilderness on the African continent. These open plains of the wilderness unfold just outside the homes of the Maasai people in the Mara. A people rich in tradition and lifestyle, yet living a simple life, one with nature. A day starts with milking cows so as to prepare the breakfast. The men of the village then take their cows out to graze in the open savannas. When the homestead is quiet, the women settle down to work and get busy with their traditional beadwork. A land where the lifestyles led by its people announce that wilderness is not a place but a pattern of the soul. The Shetani lava flow, 8 kilometers long, 1.6 kilometers wide, and 5 meters deep. It is estimated to date back to an eruption 2 centuries ago and is named from the Swahili word for devil. Legend has it that when the locals saw fire erupting and flowing on the ground, they believed that it was the devil rising from the earth. But this land has its fair share of hair-raising, bloody history. Let not the calming waters of Mzima Springs erase the bloody past of the Tsavo, a land of devils, craters, and ghosts, where caves were turned into man-eating dens by bloodthirsty lions. At its entrance, an overgrown tree stands guard. A tree that witnessed the bloodbath of railway builders dragged out of their tents in the dead of night. The red soils of Tsavo stand in stark contrast to the stretches of black lava rock around Chaimu crater. Chaimu gets its name from the Kamba language, meaning Devil's Crater, given the towering hill shrouded in black lava stone. The crater competes for elegance with the Five Sisters. They are 5 practically identical cone-shaped hills with black lava outcrops rising out of a low ridge and surrounded by long golden-brown savanna grass. Today, Tsavo forms one of the largest conservation areas in the world. It is home to the biggest herds of elephants in Kenya. At night, you will still have a visitor at the dinner table. Don't you dare to take his coat. These iconic African plains make up the Shaba Game Reserve, a landscape with a unique combination of arid desert, extinct volcanic highland, sparse woodland, riverine forest, and the earthly reddish-brown waters of the mighty Ewaso Nyiro, meandering with a rhythm unchanged since the start of time. A land where the song and dance of the Samburu people flows for miles. Amboseli National Park gets its name from the Ma word Empusel, meaning salty dust, inspired by mirages in the dry season formed by the volcanic ash of Mount Kilimanjaro. This park of mirages is a contrast of arid lands. It is made up of dry riverbeds with wetlands composed of swamps, sulfur springs, and woodlands marked by thorn bushes and acacia forests. Amidst this tapestry of habitats roam some of the biggest and world's best studied herds of African elephants. Once upon a time, an iron snake veered its way through the African wilderness and stopped by a lakeshore town they called Port Florence. This was Kisumu, a town that grew to become one of the cities of Kenya, but still strongly holding on to its culture and heritage. The year 1899 witnessed the birth of a city destined to grow into a true African metropolis. The people of this land named it Nairobi, meaning cool waters, after the Maa phrase Enkare Nairobi, referring to the freshwater river flowing through. It is a unique blend of contrasts where tribe, religion, landscape, architecture, and music are all fused to become the face of one of Africa's largest cities. Today, Nairobi is ranked in the top 20 most dynamic cities in the world. Surrounded by sprawling suburbs, slums, and a national park. Moving away from the city center and still within Nairobi lies another world. A different lifestyle, yet a people so happy and full of energy. Away from this world is the other face of Nairobi, one of open spaces, one of wilderness. The only city in the world to have a national park where 4 of the big 5 reside amongst 500,000 city dwellers. We are always ready to fly you to experience other cities. Welcome to Mombasa, the second largest city in Kenya. It serves as the major port in East Africa. A culture predominantly Swahili. This land's history is as intriguing and luxuriant as the land itself. Deep in its oceans is a world just as magnificent as that above. Where the joy of living on an island is felt through every walk of life. A land where the people interconnect with the mainland from the island on an hourly basis. Arguably the busiest and biggest port on the East African shoreline, where ships come from afar with goods for not only Kenya, but greater East Africa. This is the point of contact. This is where journeys of 1,000 miles begin. But we are going to take you on a journey through a modern city that has its roots in an old town that was set up due to trading routes in East Africa. Today, the old rustic buildings still stand strong, inhabited by a people proud of their cultural heritage and vibrant youth. But there are older civilizations than this in Kenya. The first traders came to the coast of East Africa carried by the monsoon winds. They brought goods from a foreign land in exchange of the abundance of resources in East Africa, a trade in cowrie shells. Tucked away by the shorelines of mangrove forest in the Indian Ocean are tiny islands that make up Lamu. Welcome to another dazzling world from yesteryears. Within these islands are civilizations with cultural practices and ways of life embedded deep into the people. The island of Lamu, a World Heritage Site with its narrow streets, tells you these stories. Islands that specialized in traditional dhow making, a trade passed on generations in families, now a dying skill. Islands where traditional leather making was an industry, where the traders came to buy these goods. Today, a dying trade. Welcome to a world where stories of all types are begging to be told and documented. You dare to dream. We dare to give you the visuals. In the past, many stars have shot their movies here.
I like Dwayne Johnson with the series Ballers, of which I am following.
Mimi nampenda Baba Shirandula.
It is now time for you to come and film our stars here.
Kenya yetu ni nzuri, raia twajivunia. La kweli kilikariri mpate kulisikia.
Karibu, film Kenya and capture Africa.
Tembelea. Kenya yetu ni nzuri, wenyewe twajivunia.